Hello, 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 and happy Friday. Happy Friday, happy Friday. We have made it through another week. I'm glad. I'm excited. I got some other things planned. Hey, 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 hey. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We have made it through another week. And so today we're going to talk about trauma and resilience. Yesterday we kind of left off with some heavy stuff as we talked about like how the victim sometimes can become the victimizer. So today we're going to continue our talk about trauma. Actually, we've been talking about complex trauma. We're going to continue our conversation about trauma, but this time talking about resilience and what resilience actually looks like. Now you guys know that I'm gonna throw a curveball in there, so stick around. We're gonna talk about some good things because there's some good things that can come out of trauma. But I also want to share with you some things that I learned. Hey, 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 y'all come up today on IG. Let me check my comments over here on Facebook and YouTube and see what's going on over there. If you are in here, tag somebody on in. Share. If you are in here, if you don't know who I am, if you're your very first time clicking on my lives and seeing, what is this girl talking about? Trauma and resilience. My name is Dr. Tiffany Ross. I am a marriage and family therapist. I am a trained marriage and family therapist. And I also am a relationship expert. I offer coaching and consulting, mental health coaching and consulting. So I work with one-on-ones. I work with individuals one-on-one, but I also work in the business aspect and just doing workshops and speaking engagements. So I don't just work with you one on one. And I actually do not have therapy is complicated. So I don't necessarily do therapy. I do coaching. I'm a therapist that does coaching, mental health coaching. So welcome. I'm excited about today. It is Friday. Um, I woke up to some really good news. If you've checked out my profile, you saw that I received a license in master's of art in education in teaching. So I am a licensed teacher in the state of Mississippi. Y'all, it's a whole story behind that. Like I was going to put the story in my captions and all that stuff, and I was like, you know what? This is a story that you probably need to tell live. So I want to share it with you guys, but I'm going to save it to the end because I know a lot of you are catching me for the first time. You may be on your lunch break or whatever. So I want to make sure that I make best use of my time in talking about trauma and the trauma and resilience. So let me catch you up from what we talked about a little bit yesterday. So yesterday we talked about when the victim becomes the victimizer. So we talked about how when a person goes through complex trauma, and remember what complex trauma is. Now, remember what complex trauma is. Complex trauma is when a person has endured or went through more than one trauma. So it's got to be over a prolonged period of time. It can be the same instance or the same thing over a prolonged period of time, or it can be multiple instances just kind of compounded or compiled on top of each other. So that's what complex trauma is. It's not just one person dealing with one thing. It's a person dealing with multiple instances of traumatic experiences that have happened over a prolonged period of time. So we talked about how when a person goes through such things, how they can actually become the victimizer. So the victim, although it was something that happened to them, usually in their early childhood, because that's complex trauma is usually something that happens early on in life, although it can happen later on in life. It usually happens early on in life. So when a person has gone through that complex trauma, what we see is that they can actually go to different opposites of the spectrum, and they can actually be along on that spectrum at any end. It's literally on a spectrum, and we have the opposite end, and well, we have this end where they're extremely passive, they're the peacemakers, and or they can go to the other end where they become the victimizers. And so we talked about that yesterday and what that looks like. So make sure you go back and check that live. We also talked about how trauma rewires your thinking. It also rewires your perception. It rewires your behaviors. It rewires everything. It even rewires how you think about relationships and even your view of the world and what the world is in relationship to you. Like trauma rewires everything. And we talked about how sometimes when people become the victimizers, it's because they hold on to this. Of course, they're angry. Anyone who have gone through a traumatic experience has had some anger or some resentment or bitterness or something that they've had to work out. And all the time, people don't all the time work that out, which is the reason why we're doing this, because people don't all the time work that out or even know how to or know that they should. And so when people have those things, those that set up, after things have happened to them, they can actually have a righteous entitlement. And so righteous entitlement to hurt other people like they have been hurt. And so we talked about inner vows in that, and we talked about what unresolved anger and bitterness leads to, and how it leads to you not valuing other people and not valuing people of the same or the opposite sex, and how, because that's what trauma does. It rewires everything. It rewires your perception. And then we also talked about like learned behaviors and how when people have gone through those things and how they actually learn some behaviors that come out of that. So go back and check that out. But now that we're caught up, we can actually talk about trauma and resilience. I wanted to leave this conversation on a Friday in a much lighter note, although we still talk about hard topics. Like we don't get away from that. We don't we don't not talk about hard topics. We still talk about hard topics. And even talking about resilience, we will be talking about hard topics. Come on, because that's just kind of what we do here. Y'all hit that share. If you're in here, make sure you hit that share. Share with someone. I know it's a busy Friday. It's a busy Friday here where I am. We have quite a few things coming up over the weekend. So it's a busy Friday. Congratulations to all the graduates out there, those who are graduating college, those who are graduating high school. Congratulations. I have one that's graduating that is near and dear to our hearts, is a part of our family. We love him so dearly. Joshua Dean, he's be graduating on today from college. And so I'm so excited. We're going to be supporting him on today. So congratulations to all the graduates out there. So trauma and resilience is where I wanted to leave this on somewhat of a much lighter note. But you guys know we're going to talk about some hard stuff, even with that. So trauma and resilience. Of course, yesterday we talked about the opposite, respecting the victim, the victimizer. We talked about a little bit, just kind of hit on. We might touch just a little bit next week. The passive people, the peacemakers, the people that become doormats for other people. That's at the opposite end of the spectrum. But then you have some people that are kind of in the middle, that we would call the more resilient people. And these are the people that have gone through those experiences, and they seem to have come out of them a little bit better than others. So now we're looking at the ones who, like I think it was, his name is Chris Gardner, the one who wrote the Pursuit of Happiness, or the Oprahs of the world, or the Michael Jacksons of the world, Michael Jordans of the world, the people that have gone through traumatic experiences, but they seem to have come out of those experiences much better, doing a lot of good work for other people, or very successful. What our word is we use is more high achieving. These are the people that go on and and build big huge businesses and enterprises, or make a mark on the world, leave a mark on the world, and pursue goals that normal people don't probably pursue. Those are the people that we call high achieving, or they're very successful in their careers or whatever they set out to do. They just seem to have come out and fare better. These are the people that we're talking about today, because resilience can look differently and vary on a spectrum as well. Everything can vary most things can vary on a spectrum. But resilience in this aspect, we're talking about the ones who come out of it and they seem to have fared better. So one thing we know about trauma is that trauma can result in a lifelong, and I'm talking about lifelong, especially without any intervention, can result in a lifelong battle of negative situations, negative consequences, alcoholism. We talked a little bit about that, drug abuse, depression, anxiety, health conditions. People who've gone through trauma can come out of that with a whole lot of negative consequences. Um, but we don't. Let me rephrase this, because sometimes we look at people. Let me be real. Sometimes we can look at people's successes and we don't see the negative consequences. Like we don't always see, unless they end up at court somewhere because somebody is suing them for their behavior or for abuse or something like that. Then we start seeing the negative consequences, or we get something, a news break that they died by suicide. Then we start seeing that success may not look so successful. I don't care where you came from. I told you we were going to talk about the hard stuff, okay? So we tend to look at people's successes and we don't see the negative consequences of their traumas. We don't always see it on the surface. So studies have shown, some really bright psychology people have done some really good research and really good studies that shows that about 75%, like they did a study, I think it was like 400 high achieving individuals that have gone through some traumatic experiences. But about 75% of those people came out of their traumas, were high achieving, but they found that only 75%, or about 75% of those people that have gone through traumas that were high achieving, it was about 75% of those people. And that could be kind of confusing. So let me rephrase that. So they found that of the 400 people that had went through a traumatic experience or experiences, about 75% of those people went on to be what we would call high achievers. 75%. Which means that they were really resilient. But see, here's the thing that we don't always see with the resilience, especially when people have gone through trauma, is that they can hide it. They can hide it very well, actually. And that's where we're going to land today in talking about how the resilience on the outside, we see resilience. We see people that are successful. We see people that are making their mark on the world. But what we don't see is that they're struggling with high functioning depression, or they're struggling with high functioning anxiety, or they're struggling with eating disorders, or the effects of their traumas. Because what happens when we don't deal with our stuff? It follows us everywhere. It doesn't matter how many degrees you got. It don't matter how successful you are. If you have not worked through your stuff, it will follow you. Can they be successful? Absolutely. People, we see the success. We see that. Like I said, Oprah's like the richest woman in the world. The richest woman in the world. So we see that people can come out of trauma and can be very, very, very successful on the outside. But here's the difference. Here's the difference between a person that is actually resilient and have come out and they're successful versus the person who have come out and they appear resistant, but they may look like a success on the outside, but on the inside, internally, they are still a mess. Here's how we know. Let me pull up my notes, because I had to write this one down when I was like, whoa, now that part right there. How do we know the difference? The difference is in their drive. The difference is in their motivation. What is motivating them to get there? And then once they're there, what is continuing to drive them? What is it that's continuing to drive them? So are they successful, but they still don't feel complete, and they're still workaholics, and they're still just needing to go and get, because they don't ever want to be in poverty, and they're never at peace. They still don't have that peace that comes along with their success. And they have to do other things in order to find that peace. So now we're talking about drug addictions and abuse and neglect. And, we're starting talking about all that other stuff that people do to cope, sex, and, all that unhealthy stuff, the partying and all that. People who are successful can do the very same things in coping. Actually, they can do it times 10 because they have the money to fund it. or drugs and alcohol. We see this stuff. So, what is the difference in what's driving them and what's motivating them? And do they ever get to the point to where they feel fulfilled? Or are they always looking for the next big high? And in this case, their next big high would be, oh, I need to accomplish something. Oh, I need to, I high function anxiety. I'm always worrying. I need a plan B and a plan D and a C and an A and a B and, and nothing. I'm never quite fulfilled with where I am. I need something external in order to make me feel validated. Yeah, I was trying to leave on a good note. That my intentions were to leave on a good note. And we still gonna leave on a good note because I believe that somebody is hearing this or will go back and watch the replay and will be helped. They will be helped. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we exist is to talk about the hard life topics so we can start looking at solutions. That's why we're here. Is to find solutions. And I also want to note, that you don't have to continue to struggle. Like, I feel like we put up with so much in our lives because healing is hard. Let's just be honest. Healing can be hard. It can be tough. You start talking about pulling out things that happen to you and your child, and let's not be complex trauma. We're talking about having to process this trauma, and then go and process this trauma and try to make sense of the world, and try to make sense of why someone that should have loved you did it, or they abused you, or they abandoned you, they rejected you, and you don't understand why you can't have a relationship with your parent that's supposed to be your parent. Like, you don't understand. All I did was be born. Like, you don't get it. So it can be hard. I get it. It can be hard. But what it does is keep us held back, not just from being successful, but it keeps us from living a very complete life. Not because you're comfortable with the stuff, but a complete life knowing that when I lay down at night, I can be content in who I am. I can be content in who I've been created to be. I can be content knowing that I have a real purpose here and that my life is not meaningless, and that the reason why I was here, even though I endured hell, I can still be content with who I am and who I've been called to be, because I'm here for a reason. And all of the stuff that I went through in order to get to this place that I am now, it wasn't wasted. It may have driven you so that you can change the trajectory of your generations. The success, the drive, the resiliency of coming out of that, it may have pushed you into changing the financial trajectory of your family, or even the educational attainment of your family, especially if you grew up in households where you were the first person to go to college. I wasn't the first person to go to college. I was the first person to receive. Was I the first person to receive a master? When I'm talking about my mother, father, my immediate family, I was the first one to go off to school, to college. I was the first one to get a degree, first one doctorate, like I was the first one. But so that stuff changed the trajectory of my family. So trauma can absolutely catapult you into a very different life. It can catapult you into a very different life. But if it's left unchecked, if it's left unhealed, if it's left unprocessed, even though you have a very different life, you can still be just as miserable, just as unhappy, just as incomplete. And although you may have more money, you may have a different lifestyle, you could still be in the same hell that you were in when you were back there going through those experiences without healing. So I really feel like I need to say this, that healing is available. It is available. It is available to you. Struggle, your continued struggle is a decision. You are one decision away from making a very different decision than you made a few hours ago or a few minutes ago. Struggle at this point is a decision. And we didn't even get to talk about y'all, high functioning anxiety. Go Google it. I told y'all that go Google. If I say stuff and I throw stuff out there, go Google it. Cause we can, this teaching can literally turn into an hour, but our goal is to just kind of hit at some stuff and go from there, unless you ask me to go back and teach it out, and then I'll go back and teach it out, which I do, which is the reason why we're talking about complex trauma, because people have been requesting for information about the traumas, information about stuff that I say. And so go Google it. Go Google high functioning anxiety. You may find that you may struggle with high functioning anxiety and you didn't know it. And then from there, you don't self-diagnose. You go take it to your doctor, or you go take it to your therapist, your counselor. Your therapist probably already knows. A good counselor, therapist probably already have pointed that out, that you're a workaholic and that you may struggle with some high functioning anxiety or depression or ADHD, or like they probably already have picked up on that. But if you haven't been to anyone and you're just hearing this for the first time, go Google, go look at some of the symptoms. There are people that put stuff out all the time. Stay away from the kooky people. Get some APA, the psychological foundation. You go to those kind of people, psychology.com. You go get those kind of resources from very verifiable people that actually do the work and do the research and can give you some very real direction. And then from there, go see your doctor, go see your therapist, go schedule a consult with us. We offer free discovery calls and we can help direct you where you need to go. Once like, oh, I'm picking up that I may be dealing with some stuff and I didn't know I was dealing with it. This is new to me. This is the very first time that I heard this. Like, I had a client who said, I've never heard of boundaries before. And that shocked me because, I talk about boundaries all the time. I hear about boundaries all the time, but I often forget that people aren't in the mental health world like I am. So I take it for granted. But so if you hear something that I say and it intrigues you and you're like, oh, wait, let me tell you something. And I'm going to go. So we can continue our Friday. If it intrigues you, like if you hear something, you're like, oh, it's almost like it kind of pings at your heart, or it perks your curiosity. Like it piques your curiosity. I think that's the same. But if you hear these things and you're like, I ain't never heard that before. I wonder if, you might want to follow that. Follow that out somewhere, because it may be trying to lead you somewhere. It may be trying to lead you down, okay, I think it may be something that you want to deal with. You're ready to deal with. It may be leading you down that path. So we don't dismiss it. Because sometimes we hear stuff and we know that it's for us and we'll dismiss it. So don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. Go look it up. Go find out, what it means, or go do your research. Do whatever you need to do. Schedule a call with us. That's why we exist. That's why we're here. We're here to help. We're here to advocate for your mental health. We're here to support you. We're here to provide resources. If we can provide resources, or we're here. That's why we exist. That's why we're advocating like we do. People are hurting. People need answers. People need support. People need to know that they're not alone. And we want you to know that you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. We're here. We love you so much. If you would like to schedule a free discovery call with us, it's a 30-minute session with us. The value is like $100 and something of a 30-minute session. It's like $100 and something. So I do those for free. And you can schedule those. If you are on Facebook, it is right there in the comments. You will see it. It says schedule a call with us. Click on that link. Schedule a discovery call. It's a free 30-minute discovery call. You receive an automatic calendar that will pull up where you can select the dates and all of that. It's all automatic. If you are on IG, you can go to my profile. You will see schedule from there, where you'll be able to schedule directly from there. And it's the same concept. It's through Square. You'll be able to schedule your appointment directly through there. It'll come straight to my email, straight to my calendar and all of that. And the next time you will see me, we will be having a conversation, or hear me by phone or by video. we will be having a conversation on your next steps, on how I can help you or how I can support you. I love you guys so much. This concludes, we're like on what, week 3? I think we're like on week 3. Yeah, you remember this has been 30 days and we're like already close to the end of May. I'll go through May and then I will give you some other instructions for June. We got some exciting stuff coming up in June. I'm excited about it. I'm not gonna cry. It's some really good stuff. So you know, we're gonna keep you posted on what we're gonna do in June. And yeah, but we love you so much. However we can help, we're here. Have a fantastic day, and thank you for joining us this week as we talked about some really hard life topics with some very simple solutions. We love you. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.